Warcraft II: The Dark Saga was released for the PS1 in 1997. It automatically includes the far more intense, more on that later, Warcraft II: Beyond the Dark Portal expansion, and it was developed by Blizzard Entertainment. And before you ask, yes, this is the game in the same universe as the largest MMO of all time, World of Warcraft, and yes, Warcraft II obviously predates WoW. The classic Warcraft series is an old trio of strategy games that led to its wildly more popular MMO cousin. I won't be going into too much detail about WoW since I never played it, but yeah, WoW is a thing. Now let's talk old-timey real-time strategy, okay? Warcraft 2 is one of what I call the original big three of RTS: Command & Conquer, StarCraft, and Warcraft itself. I'll be talking about Warcraft 2 and the expansion as if they were all one big campaign, even though on the PC they were released separately. Okay, now let's get into the story, or what this thinks is a story at least. The story of Warcraft 2 involves a horde of orcs, aided by goblins, ogres, and dragons, and the undead, invading the shores of Azeroth, which is aided by a bunch of other human, elf, dwarven, and griffin allies. The expansion, Dark Portal, is about orcs trying to claim a dark portal to other dimensions and the humans trying to stop them. It's the orcish horde versus the human alliance. And that's it. I will say the orcs are the aggressors here, launching a massive invasion at the start of the game, which helps to clearly mark them as the bad guys. The orcs are clearly starting shit, so the humans are not just doing the typical high fantasy orc genocide thing, so that's nice. There's also a ton of lore-heavy names and places that all sound like fantasy soup to non-Warcraft fans, so I'm just not getting into it. Check out the many lore vids if you want more. For now, just imagine a blend of Tolkien-esque fantasy with some Warhammer-looking green orcs, and you pretty much have the Warcraft setting. Moving on. Gameplay is standard RTS, with an emphasis on base/city building. You mine gold, you chop trees, and build offshore rigs to accumulate oil. These three resources allow you to build ships, more buildings, upgrades, and soldiers. Unlike Command & Conquer, Warcraft focuses on smaller unit tactics, since the unit cap is low and you have to build farms to field more fighters. You also need workers or oil tankers to gather any resources, so yes, there are supply lines. This automatically makes it more complex than rival games like Doom 2000 and the Red Alert series. You possess ground units like warriors, archers, ogres, and cavalry, along with naval units like cruisers and battleships. And there are aerial units like dragons and griffins. This adds some verticality to the gameplay, and it gives you more options in combat. At the end of each mission, you get a detailed breakdown, which tells you the only stat of importance: the kill-death ratio. Tell me what game wouldn't be better with a kill counter. There are some differences between the orc and human-led factions, but both sides are mostly the same, with equivalent soldier and archer and aerial units. Buildings are also mostly the same. There are no unit-specific special abilities either. The main difference is with top-tier units. Humans have magi and mounted paladins, while orcs have death knights and the disgusting-looking but surprisingly sweet two-headed ogres. These four units are entirely different, but other than that, the two factions build roughly the same types of buildings, and even their navies are almost identical. Competitively speaking, the orcish horde does have a bit of an advantage, since the enrage ability that they get is a little bit better in one-to-one combat than the healing ability that the humans have. But for the campaign, I personally prefer the humans, since you don't have to play as quickly in multiplayer, and you get to heal your units between each encounter if you're smart about it. The lack of variety may be a detractor for some, but I find the two factions very well balanced. A one-on-one duel between infantry types is almost a stalemate. Orcs aren't really much stronger than the humans, or vice versa, so the faction you choose is never really the reason you win or lose a battle. That's parity, folks. But it's also a lack of distinctive gameplay styles. For instance, in Command & Conquer, Nod relied more on hit and run, while GDI used brute force. That difference is largely absent here. So the same tactics will work for both factions most of the time. If I had to pick, I would say the humans are a bit better since, again, the knights can heal, and that gives you just more tactical options, like continuously sending quick airstrikes into enemy territory, using a squad of griffins. Think of Rogue Squadron, but with giant chickens. Okay, let's talk negatives. For one, the story is hard to follow. One mission is followed by the next with little connecting each engagement. Individual characters are minor players, and most missions don't involve story characters at all, although this does change a little bit in the expansion, The Dark Portal. If you're not into the Warcraft setting, you won't get much from the story or the world presented here. Okay, now for my main gripe. This game is hard. Like, it makes you recontemplate your life choices kind of hard. The first few missions in the main campaign, Tides of Darkness, serve as tutorials, so they aren't that bad. But after Act 3, however, holy shit do things pick up. That goes for both the human and orc campaigns. The enemies have large, well-defended bases, and they attack you constantly. Oh, and there is no difficulty setting, so the ass-whooping the game gives you is mandatory. All this is nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to the Dark Portal expansion campaigns. These are balls to the wall from jump. I mean it, you can easily get killed on the first stage of each Dark Portal campaign, and the first stage is just meant to be an introduction. A deadly introduction. Each mission is divided into 3 main tasks. 1 is offense, attacking the enemy. 2 is exploring the map, either with aerial units or scouts. The 3rd task is building and maintaining your base defenses. This is where Warcraft is very different from Command & Conquer and other RTSs. You build with dedicated builder units. Imagine those little building guys from Civilization Revolution who just run around automatically doing what you need them to do to make your entire empire function. Well, now imagine if those guys had to be controlled individually to do everything. You need to tell them to mine, or chop wood, or if the wood goes out, you have to point them to another forest. You need to direct them to build, repair, and then tell them what to do when they are done with that, or they'll just stand there blankly staring off into space, contemplating the meaning of NPC life, perhaps. I don't know what they're doing, but it is annoying. Oh, and if they get attacked, they will die, quickly. Managing the workers on top of everything else is where the difficulty in Warcraft creeps up from tough to really annoying. See, the AI has an infinite number of APM, or actions per minute. They can order around workers while buffing their troops and moving around raiding parties. You can only do one of these things at a time, especially on the PS1. In later levels, exploiting the vulnerability of the workers is one of the only ways to win. The AI, while smart sometimes, programs its workers to get gold at all costs. When one gold mine is empty, they just send the workers to the next one, no questions asked. This allows for a tactic I like to think of called peasant slaughter. The enemy just says, hey, last worker didn't come back. That's strange. Oh well, let's just send another, and another, until eventually they waste all their money on replacing missing workers. With no more gold, the enemy is a sitting duck. I watched a PC playthrough of Warcraft, and let's just say the PS1 version is a bit more limited in terms of its functionality overall. But the difficulty between the two versions is absolutely the same. That's why clearing this entire thing on the PS1 is a hurdle and a serious medal of gaming honor. However, a natural counter to all of these arguments is, well... So let's just say the game is hard and let's move on. Okay, so what's good about Warcraft? Let's start with the graphics. Yes, I know the game is more than 20 years old, but the art style seriously holds up. Something about the vibrant colors and unique character designs just pop. You recognize each unit and structure just by looking at them, and you get a feel for what the unit or structure is just by its visual design. Believe me, that is not the case for all RTS games. Westwood Studios, I am looking, no, I am glaring at you. The minimap, while a bit cluttered, gives you good information, with nothing more than a casual glance at it. The audio works too. Each of your units is fully voiced with unique dialogue. I noticed the PS1 version has fewer lines of dialogue, but it still adds a lot of color to the game and the units themselves. Some units share voices, but otherwise it's really well done. However, you will get annoyed by the constant one-line responses they give. Fun tip, if you keep clicking on a unit again and again, it will actually get annoyed with you and give you a different line of dialogue, so try that out if you want. Some games can be played without audio. Warcraft II is not one of those games. The music is charming and the voice acting is good all around. Plus, you'll want to hear when you're under attack, as the game will give you an audio cue whenever that happens. Also, there's just something about hatching a plan to take down the enemy and seeing it work that is fantastic in Warcraft II. You just feel like a little Sun Tzu afterwards. The experience is so entirely your own because you took down the enemy in your way. Maybe you used a big mob of knights, or maybe you led a small strike force of magi that took out critical buildings. Maybe you used ambush tactics, or maybe you relied on air power. Most levels are sandboxes that let you win or lose your own way. And yes, you will be doing a lot of losing. Like, more than you're comfortable with. But it makes victory all the sweeter when you do finally prevail. What can I say about Warcraft II that hasn't already been said? It's the second game in a trilogy that spawned WoW, the largest MMO of all time that is still going strong. Doesn't that make you curious where it all started? Well, if you are, take a look at Warcraft on the PS1. Yes, the Dark Portal expansion is super hardcore, but you can stop with just the base game's original human and orc campaigns and still have a very full experience. You do not have to punish yourself with the Dark Portal if you do not want to. Just leave that portal alone and don't walk through it. Just don't go in that portal, which is probably what the Knights of Azeroth should have done. Completing Warcraft 2 was like waiting to see the ball drop in Times Square. It was awesome, and I will never do it again. Yet I can never forget either experience, and I look back on both fondly. Just don't take an arrow to the knee, okay? Wait, no, that's the wrong fantasy franchise.
Guards!